Let's break down how I made this spec commercial.
Picture this, a sparkling pool surrounded by only high-esteemed folks, and only the most exquisite cocktails were to be served at this affair. Those guests could get lost in their own world. I wanted to bring them back to the present. Do you want to know my secret? I had forgotten one ingredient. My cocktails didn't have even a drip of alcohol. Put some class in your glass. Love, Edna.
Hi, I'm Sydney, and I'm a freelance filmmaker and director in the commercial film industry, and I'm sharing videos about my journey, process, challenges to help build a little more transparency in this whole industry. Let's start from the beginning. If you don't know what a spec commercial is, a spec commercial is something filmmakers will do to prove that they can do the job they're not yet paid for. So for example, if you are known for directing animal commercials, but you really want to make it into the car commercial industry, you might want to go out and shoot a car spec commercial. So on your own dime, on your own budget, with some friends, and that way you can prove that you can direct car commercials. For myself, I've been working as a videographer for the last 3 years, and I wanted to start building a director's reel. So before any commercial is made, spec or not, a treatment is needed. And so this is how I format my treatments. I am a big fan of design and aesthetics, and I always like to match the colors and fonts of my treatment to the brand that I'm pitching for. In this case, because it is a spec, and I was not pitching to the client, but I was pitching to other creatives to come on board, I included a little blurb about Edna's cocktails, and then I included a short statement about the overall concept of the video and what the deliverables would be. Next, I included a slide about the storyline of the video. I like to keep my treatments pretty visual and less wordy, you know, show don't tell, but in this case, I kind of struggled with that. Next, we have art direction. This was going to be super important on this spot because different colors related back to each flavor of drink. So we have the Paloma drink, and that's very red and pink. And then we have a mojito, which is very green, and I wanted each scene that connects to each flavor of drink to represent those colors. Because the storyline is kind of quirky, I wanted to emphasize this with the camera movements. So lots of static shots. I was thinking long zooms, whip pan transitions, a little more playful and less modern. Because everything was going to be filmed outside and we were filming in the middle of summer, the lighting I imagined would be soft, but on the warmer side of things. All right, casting. Casting is so freaking important. And in this spot, we actually had around 7 actors / talent, and then some background actors. So yeah, that's tough to do with a spec commercial, depending on your budget. In an ideal world, I would have loved to have a variety of different ages, different ethnicities, and I think we did get some of that, which is great, but really play up the contrast of like having this very vintage, old school world, but having your talent reflect like modern day people. So when I was first learning about spec projects and how to do it, there wasn't a lot of information on budget and where people were getting this money to just like rent all this gear and shoot a 35-second ad. That some of these spec ads look amazing. Like they look like there was a budget behind it. It can be quite intimidating if you don't understand how it works, but here is the God honest truth. It's pulling favors. It's creative collaboration. It's, hey, do you want to volunteer on this? And I now owe you one, and I'm going to volunteer on your project next time. The main challenge we had was finding crew and cast members. I recently moved here, so my network is pretty small, but we used a ton of like local Facebook groups, just posted saying, hey, does anyone want to come out? And turns out a lot of people wanted to, which is so awesome. Everyone was so talented, so if you are looking to hire any Vancouver filmmakers or actors, everyone is credited in the description below. So in this case, Brandon and I did all of our pre-production in Milanote. If you don't know what Milanote is, it's kind of like a digital board where you can honestly do any sort of creative project management or project outline, brainstorming, And so with this, I do all of my pre-production in Milano. I can create a storyboard, I can do like visual outlines. If you have an iPad with an Apple Pencil, you can also draw. A couple weeks before the shoot, Brandon and I decided that it would be beneficial for both of us to do a previs. A previs is basically when you go out and manually capture the shots you want. So you can use your iPhone, you can really use anything for this. And honestly, I'm so glad we did do this because we realized when we put together the previs in order, there were certain things we needed to change about blocking. So if we went from one shot of an actor turning their head to the right, but then cut to a wide shot and their head looks like it's turned the opposite direction. Small things like that that you may not notice and you don't want to have to deal with that in post. So on the morning of our shoot, our call time was around 8 a.m. and around 6 a.m. I woke up to an email from one of our main actors saying that she was sick. So things happen, it's okay. But our call time's now, and we don't have anyone to replace her, and we have a swimsuit that is meant for her size. And I'm the only one that fits the swimsuit. So when doing spec, work with the resources you have. So in this case, I wasn't going to waste a day trying to find someone, and I wasn't also going to plan a pickup day just for her scene. All right, so the most difficult part of this spot for me was actually the editing. My advice is if you want to get into directing, start editing. There's so many editing jobs. Learn how to edit, learn how to put together a story in the edit. Because I wanted to edit this myself, I realized that I had not actually really thought about the edit when I was planning this entire idea. With this spot, I had in mind every scene would flow into the next one and everything would be very linear. Like the croquet ball would fall into the pool, the swimmer would look over, and then we'd have the whole croquet scene, and then we'd go on to the barbecue scene, and everything would play out one by one. When I went to edit, I realized the pacing was off. It didn't actually flow, like there was something missing. It felt a little like a roller coaster, like it was very up and down. It wasn't working, and so I took the edit and I started mixing up different scenes based on creating like a slow start, things rev up, and then it kind of drops back down again. And that worked so much better than the linear cut of the storyline. We also realized in the edit that we were missing crucial shots. So we didn't have any product shots. The only product shot we had was the Edna's cans in the cooler at the very end. That's great, but it doesn't really show anything about the drink. And at the end of the day, this is a commercial for cocktails. And so we did a pickup day of product shots and we focused more on how the cocktail was being made, as we felt that kind of fit the story a little bit better, and then also it left the product shots to be a reveal at the end. All right, so let's talk about who the hell is narrating this thing.
Picture this, a sparkling pool.
This might be controversial, but it is not a human. Well, it is a human's voice. For this, we used Artlist's new AI voice generator. I want to preface this by saying that if this was a real commercial with a real budget, I would absolutely opt for using a real voice actor. I think this new feature is awesome. It really levels up content creation. So with Artlist, they have different voice templates that you can choose from. I wrote the script and then I put it into their little generator box and out it came in this woman's voice. So what I learned directing the spec and what I would do differently. Number one, I would have designed this world to the max if I had a real budget. It was also a big location we were working with. The pool was pretty big, the backyard was huge. We didn't have enough set deck to fill up every corner of this backyard. And so we really had to pick and focus on certain parts of the backyard and what we would set deck it to be. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe and maybe I'll make more of these things. How does one talk in front of a camera?